Yo, we are
Welcome to Show Boys.
yes, impromptu live recording because Craig sucks.
Craig, you're fired officially. We're done.
Fired for sure. Well, if you happen to randomly be on Facebook at 10:27 p.m. on Monday, the 25th of January, welcome to our recording of the second episode of the newscast that we are recording for the second time because the aforementioned Craig sucks. So, yeah, welcome if you are here with us. If not, I'm going to cut all of this out in the audio version that's going to be uploaded Wednesday. So, you ready to get started, Nick?
Let's rock. Let's roll.
All right. Welcome to the Show Boys Newscast, bringing you all the news and no opinion. I am Mike.
And I am Nick.
Thanks for joining us. We've got a lot to cover, so let's get right to it. Our first story, if current times were not bad enough, it looks like we are getting a TV series adaptation of George Orwell's 1984. The new series is currently in development and is set to be produced by the studio Whip. The show is being planned as a 5-part limited series and is based off of a 2013 play that was based off the novel 1984. Kind of fitting for the current times we are finding ourselves in. So this show, I think, will either be a smashing success or push us all over the edge finally. In other more lighthearted news, Kevin Smith posted on his Facebook page that he has finished writing the first draft of Clerks 3. Like I said, we don't have an article for this, but this came straight from my good friend Kevin Smith's Facebook page. His post stated, I started writing Clerks 3 on December 28th and just finished the 101-page first draft last night. This was on January the 13th. I hate you, Nick. This is actually his second attempt at creating Clerks 3, the first attempt happening a long 6 years ago, but was scrapped for various reasons. I'm excited for a new Kevin Smith project. I enjoy Kevin Smith's work. Yeah, what do you think?
No, that's exciting. I mean, I feel like that's something that doesn't surface often. I mean, it's always referenced, always talked about, but an actual show series on the book, very interesting.
What's up, Mick Manhattan? Happened to catch us recording via live stream because Discord sucks at the current moment. Thanks for stopping by, though. So yes, moving on, we have the news of a Willy Wonka prequel. Warner Brothers has set an official release date for Wonka, a Charlie and Chocolate Factory prequel, being the release date being March 17th, 2023. Warner Brothers is rumored to be looking at Tom Holland or Timothée Chalamet to play a young Wonka, and currently has Paul King, who worked on Paddington, and David Hyman, who worked on Harry Potter, slated as director and producer, respectively. There was also news back in 2018 of Netflix adapting the literary works of Roald Dahl, the author of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, including a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory series developed by our good friend and busybody Taika Waititi, along with a spin-off focusing on the Oompa Loompas. There was also reports of maybe a series based on the sequel book, Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. However, no news on when or if these last few shows may arrive. Moving on to some video game related news. You guys all know that I'm a huge fan of Scott Pilgrim, so anytime anything Scott Pilgrim related pops into the news, I am all over it. This is some gaming news regarding Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, the re-release. The game totally crushed expectations on the re-release, selling over 25,000 physical copies on the Nintendo Switch in just 3 hours, which is absolutely insane. Fans appear to be super excited to get back into the world of Scott Pilgrim and revisit the retro-looking 8-bit game. Personally, I'm super excited. This was one of my favorite games back in the day when it first came out, which I think was in 2010, maybe. It was super fun. The music was amazing. And I just hope with the re-release, it's able to find its way into new players' hearts, just as it did mine so many years ago.
What a good Switch game. By the way,
dude, exactly. It is
great,
perfect for
great
Switch.
port, right?
Anything handheld. I mean, like, yeah, it's great, and I think it's only $15. At least the Steam version is. So I don't know how much the physical copies were going for. I know our good friend Ryan, shout out chief moderator on the Discord, he picked up a physical copy, and it looks amazing. Moving on to other video game related news, Bethesda has announced that they are developing a new Indiana Jones game in conjunction with Machine Games. In a tweet, they released a teaser video showing the original or featuring the original Indiana Jones score and stated that the game will tell an original story. The game will be executive produced by Todd Howard in collaboration with Lucasfilm Games, which leads to a rather large announcement in the video game industry.
Dun, dun, dun. Lucasfilm Games has been resurrected. Disney and Lucasfilm have officially brought back Lucasfilm Games, previously known as LucasArts from the 1990s. Lots of nostalgia with that logo popping up on some very good games. Both names were lost since the 2012 acquisition of Lucasfilm by Disney. This will likely bring an end to the unguided game development Star Wars has received over the past decade or more, in my opinion, to have one, and bring all the game development into the larger Star Wars story and content that's being pushed to us now through every medium. So canon continued into the games, I do suspect.
Yes, and that's super exciting news. Almost as exciting as this spicy rumor that surfaced with the announcement of Lucasfilm Games. Beginning its new era, we have a possibility that Disney may not renew its partnership with EA, as that whole deal seems to be up in the air. It's heavily speculated that when the original 10-year contract expires in 2023, Disney will not re-up, or at least not sign such a lengthy contract with EA or any other studio for that matter. So it'll be nice to get out from under the foot, the giant stinky six-toed foot that is EA that nobody likes, and get our beloved Star Wars franchise into the hands of some actual talented game studios.
Hey, a 10-year contract with EA is just like a money grab, like the sequels were. Anyways, so on that note, from an IGN/The Wire article, what is being called the start of a long-term collaboration between Ubisoft and Disney is underway. Ubisoft Massive, developer of The Division, will be developing an open-world Star Wars game. No gameplay details have been announced, but Massive is actively recruiting for the project. The game will use the Snowdrop engine, as used in the Division games. And the CEO of Ubisoft stated that an original Star Wars adventure that is different from anything that has been done before. That kind of makes me think Assassin's Creed kind of world here going. Anyway,
I would be totally cool with that.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed with like planet hopping, lots of possibilities there. And Lucasfilm has also stated that the Star Wars games would continue to be treated as canon alongside with film, TV, book, and comic releases. So I think there will be a very thought out rollout of future games here.
Yeah, that might actually be the most important sentence of the Lucasfilm's news, or Lucasfilm's games news, I should say.
Yes, for sure. Decent little gaming segment there, but we're going to continue the Star Wars one a little bit longer here. We are about to run into
welcome to the next episode of Star Boys.
I mean, yeah, Star Wars is underway, and this next one definitely summarizes the next group here, and that is the Mandoverse term. At the moment, Star Wars has 3 movies and 10 TV shows in the works, which is not, taking it easy by any means. But the plan is reportedly for the Mando universe, quotes, to keep getting bigger and bigger until it rivals the MCU in terms of scope and scale. Whether or not that point is specific to the Mando storyline, that era of Star Wars, or more broadly, the Star Wars universe itself, a Mando verse the size of the MCU is very bold and also very exciting.
Yes,
to think about.
Kind of like we talked about, before in many of the past Star Wars conversations, this direction kind of is not surprising considering, who they have working in the Star Wars universe here with Favreau and Feige, being active, creative minds, brilliant minds of the MCU. So exciting stuff indeed.
Oh, for sure. It's just crazy to me to think that that's a goal of a sub group of the Star Wars universe to be the size of an entire universe on its own. But
yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, we'll see. They obviously have lots of thoughts there. The next group here, we're going to dive into some casting rumors and some official casting news around some of these Mandoverse, what I would imagine would be part of the Mandoverse shows. But Jason Isaac, known for his role as Lucius Malfoy in the Harry Potter franchise, was the voice actor behind the Grand Inquisitor in Star Wars Rebels. He is interested in reprising his roles in The Mandalorian. So, following the trend of Katie Sackhoff's live-action reprisal of Bo-Katan from Rebels and Clone Wars, Jason here would be a welcome addition. And this is all pending should the Grand Inquisitor make a return. But a little spoiler for those who haven't seen Rebels, also a little spoiler for some comic content that's floating out there. There is a path for the Grand Inquisitor to return from his death in Rebels. Little developments everywhere.
I mean, I feel like unless you literally get Thanos'd, you're not really dead.
Spoiler. Easy.
I mean, Ball literally got chopped in half. Anything's possible.
Yeah, I mean, his return was totally seen and made tons of sense. Right. They can do it. Right. Onward. This is official, and this is one that was circulating there for a few weeks. Lots of names being dropped in there, but after a long list of rumored actors for the role of Grand Admiral Thrawn, including Benedict Cumberbatch, Ian Glenn, Jason Isaacs again, and several others, it was officially announced that Lars Mikkelsen has been cast the part, reprising his voice-acted role of Thrawn from Rebels. Big news there. Very good. With the additional reveal that the Asoka series will be focused on the search for Ezra Bridger, Thrawn will be a critical character to have fleshed out for those who are up to date with that story arc. And if not, I highly suggest, and Mike does now too, watching Star Wars Rebels, as that will fill in a lot of story arcs kind of interweaving into the Mandoverse, as we're going to call it here on out.
Yes.
Because Dave Filoni never stops thinking, luckily.
Very much. Very much.
And then now that was official. So we have a little Ahsoka series rumor unfolding. So with Thrawn officially being cast, we are on to the next rumor. And this time it's an important co-star along Ahsoka, rumored to be Sabine Wren from Rebels. She was obviously a really big character in Rebels. As that all kind of ties up story arc wise and just character development, that, with the search for Ezra Bridger being the primary focus of that show, it makes a lot of sense for Sabine to be right there in the action. So interested in future casting there and how that'll look and play out. So That's
Yes.
exciting.
And Sabine was one of my favorite characters from Rebels. So yeah, that just makes me super excited. And that leads right into our next spicy Ahsoka series rumor. There's heavy speculation that the live action Ahsoka series will be the continuation, sequel, spiritual successor, however you want to coin it, to the animated series Rebels. Kessel Run Transmission reports there has been a conversation between Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni as to whether this live-action Rebels sequel is going to be live-action or animation. But it sounds like the way that the conversation had gone is that Rebels sequel being live-action, and that specifically the Ahsoka series on Disney+. So if you have seen Rebels, you'll know it ended on quite the cliffhanger. And while it was totally cool to end that way, I'm glad that it sounds like the story will be continuing. And what makes it even better is it'll be live action. If you just add up all the clues and the casting rumors and now things that are being confirmed with Mikkelsen coming on as a live action Thrawn, this rumor, leans more towards, the truth than just a rumor, which makes me excited.
Yeah, and I like the idea. I didn't really know that they were talking about extending Rebels, if at all, but I like to leave Rebels the nice 4-season package it is.
Yeah. I was perfectly okay with how it ended. I thought it was very strong. But it's cool that the story might get continued on in a completely different series.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it for sure will. And that brings us to an end of Star Boys. Have a good night. And moving on. So, moving in to the next franchise revival. It's a theme here, especially.
Welcome to the Fellowship of the Boys.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Sorry, that was off the cuff.
Yeah, new series.
We'll work on that title.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to think about that. We'll need more people.
Yeah.
Before we become a fellowship. And we need a ring. We need a lot of things to make that pan out. But enough teasers of where we're going with this. Amazon's The Lord of the Rings series has an official synopsis. Acquired from the onering.net. There will be a link in the description. Great site for all things Middle Earth. Very well put together. Great visuals. I think there's even a map there that kind of shows where this is going to be taking place. They have a whole synopsis. I contemplated reading this all, but I think I'm just going to kind of like pick through it and all the important things. But bringing to screens for the very first time, they're looking at stories of the fabled Second Age of Middle Earth's history. Lord of the Rings took place in the Third Age, so we're stepping back a bit. It's set thousands of years before the events of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. And this is obviously a much more wild time. So really lots of power thrown around. Elves are a big deal. This will most likely focus on the rise of Sauron, even the making of the rings. And it'll start off peaceful, much like, The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings do. And it's going to follow an ensemble of characters, familiar and new, which is fun, right? Elves get to live a long time, so we get to see, young, all the elves, maybe. So I wonder if Orlando Bloom will make an appearance. I forget his actual age, if that would make sense. Yeah. But yeah, Misty Mountains, the Elf Forest, Capital Linden, the Island Kingdom Numenor, lots of different things they're going to explore, and I think they're really going to push, this to the edges of the map, the same map, but the edges of it for sure. But it's currently planned as a minimum 5-season series, 8 to 10 episodes each, and filming is beginning this month. So it has a lot to live up to.
Yes.
And following up on that, and this is a little bit of a rumor, and apparently an insider named Daniel Richmond heard they are developing more Lord of the Rings films. One about the fall of Morgoth. Now, Morgoth being Sauron's mentor, master, and Middle-earth's OG baddie, delving into that would be very rowdy.
Yeah, that sounds pretty.
Balrogs riding dragons, rowdy.
Sign me up.
That. Yeah,
I'm ready.
That's a good film fit, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it's like one film or a new trilogy. That's
these got to do a trilogy.
It's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, that's all exciting because I think that's been a long time coming, right? The future of that whole entire universe.
Yeah, it's definitely been a minute since we've been in that universe, so I'm excited to see it kind of get a little revival here. And on top of all things, I'm also excited that it's on Prime because, Prime's kind of lacking in, amount of great content. Not to say that it doesn't have great content already, but it could just use a little more to kind of compete with the others. But that kind of leads us into the next story here. Another Prime original, amazing show, one of my favorites. Hopefully one of Nick's. I finally convinced him to watch it.
Show Boys.
Yeah. The Boys, season 3.
Boys.
We confirmed a controversial storyline. Showrunner Eric Kripke has confirmed that season 3 will include the not safe for work storyline Herogasm from the comics. Now, granted, I have not read a lot of the comics. I had started, but knowing Garth Ennis and his past work on comics such as Preacher, I know that he definitely is pedal to the floor, giving no care about anyone's feelings and just is over the top, off the wall with absurdity and insanity. I can only imagine what this Herogasm storyline is really going to entail and exactly how much of it they can kind of put on the screen. But it's hard to imagine how much more insane the boys can get. But it sounds like they're taking things to a whole new level here in season 3. The Herogasm storyline centers around a yearly event where, quote, the world's soups come together for a corporate-sponsored, drug-fueled orgy. Yeah, that's just going to be nutty to say the least. No pun intended. Kripke has confirmed this by tweeting a picture of the first page of the script for season 3, episode 6, which was written by Jessica Chow, titled Herogasm.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know how you're going to follow that one up, Nick.
Yeah, we're just going to have to shift gears to something a little bit more grounded. Right. But this has been a lot going on around with this, and it's convenient that I just started watching this show recently. See our episode of last week or this week technically, of what's watching, but the future of Peaky Blinders. So with Peaky Blinders coming to an end after its 6th season, it has been made clear that the franchise is far from over. A Peaky Blinders movie was quickly announced, and it is now rumored and has been stated that the movie will set up a new TV series and potentially series as the franchise extends beyond the final season. And I'm happy to hear that because I do enjoy that show, and I like seeing multiple mediums being used for a franchise, especially one so young. One series, and they plan on taking it multiple directions, so that's exciting.
I'm cool with it. Sign me up.
Start watching it. Quick rumor for those interested: Stranger Things season 4 might be coming late 2021. They said the earliest would be late 2021, so the rumor is potentially August. Probably a collection of previous releases and just kind of the feel and vibe of that show. Might land it on an August date, kind of Halloweeny leading up to it. I think that's an 8-episode series that you binge it, but that sounds about right to me.
Yeah. I think, this is definitely a rumor. There's been no confirmation. I think the rumor actually started just by like a picture passed around Facebook. So the credibility of the rumor is a little up in the air, but with the filming starting earlier in 2020, it's not out of the question that a late 2021 release could be possible. Sticking with the Netflix news, Leonardo DiCaprio has signed a 3-movie deal. So our good friend insider Daniel Richtman, he claims that DiCaprio has signed a 3-film deal with Netflix. It isn't clear if his current project, Don't Look Up, the Netflix original movie, is part of the 3-film deal, or if the deal starts after the release of Don't Look Up. This movie, Don't Look Up, though, does feature quite the cast. You ready for this, Nick?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I need you to take a seat.
I'm sitting.
Okay, good. Jennifer Lawrence, Kate Blanchett, Meryl Streep, Jonah Hill, Chris Evans, Timothy Chalamet, Matthew Perry, and Ron Perlman. Once Don't Look Up wraps, DiCaprio is set to team up with Martin Scorsese for the Apple TV literary adaptation of Killers of the Flower Moon, starring alongside Robert De Niro. So he's a busy man. Sounds like he's pumping out some high quality films for us to enjoy, which is pretty dope.
Yeah, good platform too.
Yeah,
making just
well, maybe not Apple TV, but the Netflix deal, I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah.
Moving on in more Netflix news, we have a new Mike Flanagan series called Midnight Mass. Now, Mike Flanagan, that name might sound familiar, and here's why. He is the creator of The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor. Great. I mean, he's done a lot of other things, but those are probably the most recent and most notable, as of today's date in recent memory. He has already shot his new Netflix series, and it was all done during COVID, which is kind of cool and interesting. Glad that he was able to get that accomplished. It's quite the feat. Midnight Mass appears to be centered around an island community that experiences strange and unexplainable occurrences when a mysterious priest arrives. The series is not expected to be attached to the haunting shows at this time. However, it reeks of anthology series, because we will be seeing returns from actors from the haunting shows, including Rahul Kohli from Bly Manor, Henry Thomas from both Hill House and Bly Manor, and Kate Siegel, who has been in several Flanagan projects. Interestingly enough, Midnight Mass is the name of a book that appears in past Flanagan projects, Hush and Gerald's Game. So that's either like the coolest Easter egg or like some kind of weird movie show inception where the story of Midnight Mass is actually the story of the book that appears in those two movies. So I don't really know what's going on there, but it sounds really cool.
That's cool. It reminds me of like Cloverfield kind of stuff. Just like little Easter eggs everywhere, and it's like a universe within itself kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely love that little tie-in there. Regardless of what it turns out to be, that's just a cool little detail. We're coming around third base here. We got just a handful of stories left to tell you guys about. The next one being John Wick number 4 is to begin shooting here in 2021. Ian McShane, who plays Winston in the Wick flicks, was quoted saying that he expects shooting for John Wick 4 to happen in 2021 in an interview with Collider. It was previously announced that John Wick 4 and 5 would be filmed back to back, but that's currently up in the air due to the pandemic. John Wick 4 is scheduled for release on May 27th, 2022, with John Wick 5 hopefully not far behind. Speaking of Keanu Reeves, we have a juicy Justice League Dark rumor here. This is somewhat older news, but new to my heart. Therefore, I feel like I must share it with you. Sources have been murmuring of a Justice League Dark Resurgence being led by Keanu Reeves, reprising his role as John Constantine. Justice League Dark was originally developed back in it was originally in development back in 2012, headed by Guillermo del Toro. However, the project fizzled out years later. It appears that HBO desires to acquire the services of Reeves again, who previously stated he would love to play the character again, and this coincides with some reports earlier, a couple months back, of Constantine sequel being in the works. The sources reporting this news are the same that have reported news of a Green Lantern show coming to HBO Max, as well as a Swamp Thing movie being in the works, which was confirmed by Bloody Disgusting. That makes me really excited. Justice League Dark is amazing, and I would love to see that team and those heroes and characters fleshed out. Yeah, I know you're not much of a comic guy, Nick, but those are interesting characters and stories.
I mean, those characters have always interested me. Not that I've dived into them, but I like Keanu Reeves, and I liked him as Constantine. And if he's, the Iron Man, RDJ of the Dark, Justice League Dark, sign me up.
Let's do it. We're sticking here with some DC news here. This is just a short one, but it was reported that Justice League, the director's cut, will not be a miniseries. It was recently revealed that despite speculation, the Snyder cut of Justice League will actually be released as a 4-hour movie rather than a 4-part miniseries. This was also confirmed by Snyder himself. I know you enjoy the 4-hour movie over a 4-part miniseries, and I think I will agree with you on this one as well. Just being able to knock it out in one sitting instead of potentially having to wait 4 weeks for the entire series to be released. I'm just excited to get back into Justice League. I've been on the Snyder cut train since the first time it was brought up right after the release of the original Justice League, and be expecting an episode of Show Boys shortly after the Justice League director's cut is released, in which we will analyze and break down and review the movie with our good friend Jordan. The movie is supposed to be released in March of 2021. However, a specific release date has not been announced yet. And I have one last piece of HBO news for you before Nick takes us home with a real spicy rumor. This one, though, is about the Last of Us HBO series. Writer Craig Mazin, creator of Chernobyl, he is the writer of the Last of Us HBO series, and he announced that there will be a, quote, modest update on the project soon. Mazin will collaborate with writer and creative director Neil Druckmann, who was the writer and creative director of the game from Naughty Dog Studios. They will be teaming up to adapt the game into the series. We know the show will focus on the events of the first game revolving around Joel and Ellie, but we aren't sure when or if the show will dive into the events of the sequel game, The Last of Us Part 2. Speaking of, The Last of Us has picked up a new director, being Kantemir Balagov, who worked on Beanpole, and he will be replacing the original director, Johan Renck, who worked on Chernobyl. He had to drop out due to scheduling conflicts. So What what are we ending on here, Nick?
You know, sticking with the theme of this episode, we're going to end on a rumor of another franchise potentially about to expand into the great unknown and beyond the silver screen. But the rumor is Warner Bros. Is in early development on a live action Harry Potter series that would be coming to HBO Max. It would expand on J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World, but there are no details beyond that. So, lots to think about there. So, obviously, MCU explodes, DCEU struggles, Star Wars explodes, Lord of the Rings is moving right along to that point, and now we have Harry Potter.
Hey, it's a theme for me this episode, but sign me up. I'm ready.
Yeah, can't complain. So interesting where that one goes. More HBO Max content, just continuing the war of the streaming services. We'll have to do an updated episode on that.
Yes, we definitely will.
But once again, thank you for joining us. We hope you found this both entertaining and informative. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe everywhere you consume our content. Find all the places we publish content on our link tree,
which is linktr.ee/showboyspodcast. Be sure to join our new Discord server and become a member of the Showboys community to hang out with the Showboys staff and other listeners, as well as get some cool perks, such as being able to see all of the articles that we had to choose from when we were making this episode of the newscast, but weren't able to squeeze into the episode itself. All the article links that we did cover in this episode will be included in the episode description for your reading pleasure.
If you have anything you would like us to cover in more detail or include in the show here, please comment where available or email us at showboyspodcast@gmail.com or join us in our Showboys Discord, as Mike mentioned, for all the community action.
And as always, thank you for listening, or if you were able to catch the live stream, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Have a good night.
Signing off. Cue the music.
Question mark?